Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Marketplace. Coming up, Finance Minister to table bills for tax cuts in 2025 budget for immediate repeal. Meanwhile, committees of Parliament have been tasked to start work on considering the budget estimates. We will be live in Parliament. Also coming up, minority accuses government of introducing 4 new taxes. We hear from ranking member on Parliament's Economy and Development Committee.
Want to remove some of the taxes and then they'll reintroduce taxes at the back. They've introduced 4 taxes in this budget. Sure. First of all, they have increased the taxes on the mining, the growth and sustainability levy.
The case of robbing Peter to pay Paul, we will analyze. Plus, on Let's Talk Tech, we will discuss how digital transactions are going to be impacted by government's move to scrap e-levy. My name is Daryl Kwao. Details coming up. Stay with us. And thanks for staying with us, everyone. The Finance Minister is set to lay critical bills before Parliament to formalize the scrapping of select taxes outlined in the 2025 budget to ease the financial burden on businesses and individuals. In Parliament yesterday, he scrapped some taxes, including the much-anticipated betting and e-levy tax. We'll go live to Parliament to join our correspondent, Kweku Asante, for the latest from over there. Kweku, good afternoon to you. Have the bills been laid yet?
This was under the tax bill.
Kweku, if you can hear me, what's happening in Parliament currently? Has the minister laid the bills yet?
The bills are yet to be formally laid before the House.
We have done a lot of like this. We also had Chief Justice.
Hello, Daro, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. So has the Finance Minister laid the bills yet?
Very soon.
They are making the point that the Finance Minister is yet to come to Parliament to lay this. In fact, it has not yet been advertised on the other papers whether or not the Finance Minister will be coming in to come and do this. The expectation earlier on, yesterday in fact, was that the budget itself would have been referred to the various committees to deal with. That wasn't done yesterday. And so it was this morning that the Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament did make that referral. The minority did complain about a lack of the document for them to peruse and get into committee and deal with this. But ultimately, the big matter is to wait for the Finance Minister to come to the floor and lay the bills that will lead to the repeal of these taxes. He hasn't done so yet. It hasn't been listed on the other paper. But session is still proceeding, and if you are so minded to do so, it will be done. Recall yesterday on PM Express, the Finance Minister told Evans Mensah that he's looking to doing that laying of these bills today, and so that is what we are expecting to be done today.
What's been the reaction of the minority to the tax reforms?
Well, yesterday, for instance, we did hear from Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, who say, well, they welcome the development to scrap e-levy. But he says the betting tax is a bit of a 419 because they believe their government did not start collecting that tax. But there are those who said that the withholding tax on betting was actually implemented, and that is why they believe that Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam hasn't been entirely truthful with the situation. But it's a mixed reaction. You meet people who say that, well, we welcome the development to cut these taxes. We want to know how you fix this and plug the hole. The finance minister has said he's going to reduce the percentage for tax refunds, and that will be enough to cater for the amount that these taxes will bring in. So it's divided along political lines in Parliament, Gary.
Yeah, and the issue with the betting tax becoming very controversial. I mean, articles, news articles resurfacing this morning suggesting that, I mean, the government actually taxed bets. But let's talk about COVID-19 levy, because that has also come up as well. That wasn't taking off, and well, the minority also essentially accusing the government of introducing new taxes and maybe robbing Peter to pay Paul. How is the government side responding to this?
Well, the finance minister did give an indication that the COVID levy is part of the value-added tax. And so the plan is to reform the VAT system, and then it will lead to an abolition of the COVID levy. That was the exact words of the finance minister. But it was not part of the bills or the measures that will go immediately. The budget is passed and the appropriation is passed. And so that will be dealt with. The minority insists, and I was speaking to Honorable Ataisa, he used to work with the Bank of Ghana, is now Member of Parliament for Sagneri Group. He believes that that is the step in the right direction, that the handles should not just go, but it must be because you do a comprehensive review of the value-added tax system. When you do that, then you'll be able to abolish. And that is the plan that they are working on now, Daryl.
Yeah, and finally, did the finance minister give any indication of when we're going to hear more about the VAT reforms?
Give the definite timelines, except to say that the consultation is already going on in earnest. He's ensuring that this process will be concluded as soon as practicable. Perhaps in the media budget review, where the finance minister comes to Parliament, he will perhaps give some indication as to when exactly he intends to remove the COVID levy as part of the value-added tax.
Okay, keep watching developments in Parliament. For Askew Asante, our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. I appreciate the update. Well, so the scrapping of some taxes, including betting and e-levy, has drawn criticism from the minority in Parliament, like you heard us discuss. Ranking member on Parliament's Economy and Development Committee, Kojo Oponkuma, is accusing government of introducing new taxes in the 2025 budget.
My worst fears have been confirmed. Remember, we said that we could get the sense that they want to remove some of the taxes and then they'll reintroduce taxes at the back. They've introduced 4 taxes in this budget. Sure. First of all, they have increased the taxes on the mining, the growth and sustainability levy. They've increased it from 1% to 3%. Secondly, they have reimposed it generally for all the other categories from 2025 to 2028. Number 3, they have introduced VAT on non-life and non-motor insurance. He hid it in the English that they have excluded motor insurance, but they have introduced it on non-life and so property, marine, all of those ones. They are now going to charge VAT on it. And then number 4, they've introduced one more tax. As we go through, I'll draw your attention. But they've introduced 4 new taxes in this new budget.
Some will say that hasn't something got to give in for another thing?
We said what has to give is the expenditure cuts. The appropriation for last year, I told you, look at the numbers. The appropriation for last year was 250 billion. The appropriation for this year is 290 billion. Where is the cut? Does 290 look like it's lower than 250? So what is giving? What is giving?
Are you surprised, disappointed?
It is my worst fears that have been confirmed. Then rather, the key things that people were looking for, unemployment. You didn't hear any major unemployment approach or unemployment curing approach in this budget. The Women's Bank, did he say $50 million? Is that what you heard? Sorry, 50 million cedis. Is that what you heard?
I'm not sure.
I thought I heard him say 50 million cedis. If it is 50 million cedis, check the numbers. If it is 50 million cedis, the minimum capitalization of a bank is 400 million cedis. How do you capitalize a bank with 50 million cedis? That is advertising that you are not going to be doing anything serious in that area. And they are just putting something there to create the impression that you are creating a women's bank. But in essence, you won't do much. Our numbers suggest that you need about 1.5 billion to properly capitalize and operationalize the women's bank. You need to fulfill the 400 million capital requirements. You need to get float that you are going to lend to the women. You need to get your OPEX budget for the various branches that you're going to run across the country. If I heard him say 50 million correctly, if it was 50 million, that's woefully inadequate. It can't do the job. So the numbers and the details are now beginning to expose the new administration that they've talked a lot. Now bring the programs and the budget. We are beginning to see it.
Let's look at the taxes as well. There have been some reliefs to individuals, but businesses, the same cannot be said. You want to grow the economy. There are some who are saying that these handles, they are not being handled in a way that could stimulate growth.
Growth is two things. If you cut the nuisance taxes, the economy can grow. When we cut taxes, about 17 taxes, revenue to GDP grew from 11 to 13%. So if you cut the taxes, it can stimulate growth. In this instance, they've cut 5 and brought 4 through the back door. So there's not much of a cut there. The other thing is investment in the real sector, the growth driving sectors of the economy. The Ghana Statistical Service has vindicated us that the combination of revenue and financing that we put together to invest in the economy, it grew the economy even beyond what we projected. 1.2 trillion. We were projecting 1 trillion, 1.2 trillion. The rate of year-on-year 5.7%. They are telling you that when they put all their programs together, growth is going to slow down to 4%. So they are now beginning to bring us to almost 6%. From almost 6%, they are advertising to you that they are going to bring us down to 4%. So the growth you are looking for, the expansion you are looking for, which will create the jobs and which will ensure that people have incomes in their pocket, the minister has just advertised to you that they cannot do it. These are not my words. These are not my targets. Those are the minister's words and his targets.
Well, joining me on Zoom is tax consultant Francis Timor-Boy. Good afternoon to you, Francis. So the government made good on most of its promises about scrapping taxes and is set to lay them before Parliament for repeal. Were you impressed?
Daryl, if you look at the e-levy, I think from the day it was introduced, Ghanaians kicked against it, and happily, the government has been able to abolish it without necessarily introducing a new tax. I think the way they went about the use of the VAT refund account, the excess, to fund the betting tax and then the e-levy is a smart move. After all, they are saying that it cannot be properly accounted for. So if it cannot be properly accounted for, then why don't we use it to cover some of the taxes that Ghanaians, the citizens, are considering as not proper? I think it's a good move.
Right. So what's coming up is the COVID-19 levy, which still remains. People are questioning it. Let's tie that with the VAT reforms, which we are yet to hear more about. The business community disappointed because the finance minister didn't give anything concrete. Your thoughts?
So the first, let's talk about the business community. I think what is clear is that even if it is maintained, they're going to make it as an input deduction. I think the minister has been very clear. And the way we structured the tax system in August 2018 has led to the way we perform abysmal. If you take 36 countries in Africa, we do the least 18% to total revenue. Even Cote d'Ivoire does 42, better than us. So even if it is maintained, they will change it. Now, let's talk about the maintenance. It looks to me that if the government is not able to raise money for the Agenda 111, they will come back and tell us that they want to maintain it, change the name, and then use it for the Agenda 111 project. After all, they are all health related. Myself, I'm also not too sure why they couldn't take the bold decision to, scrap it just like they've done for the e-levy. But overall, it looks like they want to have some discussion with the IMF, assess whether removing it can cause some trouble, because if you look at the total projections that they did from now to 2027, that the COVID-19 is likely to bring around 14 billion Ghana cedis. And so if you need money to complete hospital projects, IMF can advise that let's maintain it and then use it to complete the project. But let's see how things unfold. I think that they may have decided to postpone the immediate abolishment because they want to see how they are going to perform over the next period. By mid-year budget, we should see some recommendations from the tax reform, the VAT reform task force on the COVID-19.
Well, meantime, the minority accusing the government of introducing 4 new taxes, essentially saying it makes nonsense of scrapping e-levy and the betting tax. It's just musical chairs at play.
No, you see, if you take the growth and sustainability levy, we knew from 2001 or so when it was introduced, this tax has never gone away. Government upon government, they come and extend the sunset clause, even though business community says that let's scrap it. So it is not a new thing. And if 2028, another government will come, and if you look at the trend, they are also going to extend it. So I don't think that is something that we can even call it new. We knew that it's going to be there forever. Again, if you look at the mining sector, globally, countries appear to get more from their natural resources. In Ghana, we don't get much. So the National Economic Dialogue, it came up that we are not reaping enough from our resource rent. Whilst there's potentially 14%, which means that the mining sector is profitable. We're getting very small. So they're saying that let's increase the growth and sustainability levy that applies to them, which is currently 1% to 3%, then I think it's fair if those big companies can pay. And again, the reason why it is fair to we Ghanaians is that it doesn't affect the ordinary Ghanaians like you and I. These are for big mining companies. So if we want to get more from our natural resource, it's better than maintaining COVID-19 or e-levy.
Well, I guess the big question right now is whether these reforms would help us meet our revenue target.
I think so, yes, because if you look at the performance of the Ghana Revenue Authority, year on year, they've been doing close to 35%. This year, they are projecting around 31%, which means that they are targeting around 210 billion Ghana cedis. With the reforms, and again, the promise to embark on comprehensive tax compliance, I think that we'll be able to achieve it. And that will help us because, look, we just have to focus on our internally generated fund. The minister promised that they're going to have a special law that deals with non-tax revenue, property taxes. They're going to go fully. We hope that they're able to implement it. If you look at our property tax performance, we are down the scale. And if these reforms are able to come in as soon as possible, surely we can achieve our revenue target.
All right. Thank you so much for your perspective. Francis Timor-Boy, financial consultant. Appreciate your time. On the marketplace, we are taking a short break. When we come back, let's talk tech. Well, hello and welcome to Let's Talk Tech. We are still focusing on the 2025 budget. The decision to scrap the e-levy is expected to have an impact on promoting digital transactions. My colleague, Isaac Atasenyako, joins me for the segment. Good afternoon to you, Isaac. Great to have you in studio. So, how badly... Don't start. How badly were digital transactions affected by the e-levy, and what immediate impacts do you expect it to have on digital payment?
Well, clearly, Daryl, we expect a boost in digital payments or the usage of digital platforms in transacting or sending monies across, especially with the scrapping of the e-levy. You remember when it was introduced, there was a dip in, the value of transactions. In fact, the number of transactions as well as the value of transactions when it was introduced. I mean, the first 3-4 months recorded a slow, and now we are expecting things to boom up a little bit, especially with the scrapping of that levy. Again, what's topical, especially today, is the fact that, the Mobile Money Vendors Association reported that about 17,000 Momo vendors lost their jobs because of e-levy. Now, this is huge. Now, imagine, 17,000 people. They are dependent. If we have to calculate that and then do the math and do how much these people, might have lost within this period, it's pretty huge, Daryl. And so we expect that things will boom, especially within the digital payment sectors. And for those in the fintech area, especially the big players, we expect, a lot more people to adopt some of these platforms to make sure that they use these platforms in sending monies across to their loved ones and also outside of the country.
Yeah, we'll see how the sector reacts to the removal of the e-levy. What else piqued your fancy in the 2025 budget?
Well, Daryl, you remember we're here a couple of, weeks ago, or should I say months ago, before the 2024 election, to discuss the digital policies of the two main contenders for the 2024 election.
I remember that discussion.
Great. And so now there are a few things that came up. Remember for the NDC government, they announced a few policies, just to run through a few of them with you, to launch the $3 billion investment in partnership with the private sector to leverage ICT for the creation of jobs, create 1 million coders and web application software developers, regional digital centers, launch a $50 million fintech growth fund and support program, together with others. Now, a number of these did not appear in the budget as presented yesterday.
Why?
Well, we are yet to find out if subsequently these initiatives may come up within some of the announcements that were made, especially with the allocations that was made to some of these ministries. We are yet to find that out, but a number of these did not show up. What really stood out in yesterday's budget was the announcement of 100 million cedis for the CODES program. Okay. Now, this, was one of their flagship, policies to help build, the whole coding, software engineering, ecosystem. And so they are saying they are dedicating about 100 million to the CODES program. And this forms part also as part of their youth development initiatives. This will also form under that ministry as well. Aside that, there wasn't much except for a few announcements to some, youth and empowerment policies, but nothing really on the digital centers. Again, a few things to note was, the whole transformation or the whole digitalization of government processes. And so you realize that he made an announcement that, for instance, the procurement process will be digitalized now. And so if you want to, procure things on behalf of government or do business with government, you may have to go through a series of, digital applications and all of that. Again, there was a promise of the e-visa, which we've not heard much about. We don't know if it will be rolled out subsequently in the course of the year. But the budget wasn't very heavy on the digital sector, I should say, Daryl.
All right, 30 seconds on the betting tax is becoming very controversial, and how the removal of that as well could help the digital space.
Well, I mean, it's going to help a segment, because now if you don't bet or engage in any lottery of that sort, you probably won't have to pay that tax. And so for those who engage in such activities, well, I'm pretty sure it's going to help them, because I know a few people who complained bitterly sometime last year that, they didn't want to withdraw their betting earnings, and so they kept it in the various accounts on the various betting platforms because of the tax. And indeed, they tried, and, they were charged, and so they didn't want to withdraw. Now that the finance minister has announced that it's being scrapped, I'm pretty sure a lot of them will want to, withdraw their earnings now. And so for a lot of the young people who engage in these activities, I'm pretty sure it will be a good thing for them, Daryl.
All right, Isaac Atosanyako, join us for Let's Talk Tech. I appreciate your time with us here on the marketplace. And there is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Before we go, our Money Lab episode for today, if I don't do that, Isaac will kill me. Goodbye.
Hello everyone, this is Money Lab once again. Remember, my name is Abna Baini. I'm a partner with Deloitte Ghana. We're picking up from where we left off the last time. Today we're talking about the users of the financial statements. Who are the users? What's their interest in the financial statements? And how does audit assist them? There are various users. We have shareholders, we have investors, we have people who are interested in what's going on. They're employees of institution. They're all interested in different things. Today, let's focus on the shareholders. They are interested in returns on the investment and the money they've put into the organization. And so the audit helps them to get an independent view of how their money, their investment is being used. We will end it here today. Thank you for joining us. This has been the Money Lab.